So, guys, tell us more about Orbit. Like, what do you guys do? Day-to-days, what's it like running a business as mums? Tell us, like, how is it? How's it all going?
Oh, I feel like when we was on maternity leave, it was so good.
How long have you been going for?
So we officially launched in 2021.
Wow.
But we started talking and stuff. Was it like
doing the legwork at like the back
late
end of
2020?
Yeah, back end of 2020.
Yeah.
We started on Clubhouse in like October.
Yeah. So
Sick. You guys was on Clubhouse.
yeah, and we at that time when Clubhouse was like popping, I know a lot of people were just on it. It was kind of like LinkedIn where they were just giving advice on different skills that they have. Whereas when we came on, I think we were like one of the first people to just talk about real shit, which was motherhood. Like that was what was affecting us, and that's what we wanted to talk about. And I remember when we were making the decision to do that, people connected so much with our tweets. I think it was nice to put a voice behind it. And it was also nice to see people saying, oh my God, these are the girls that are behind Orbit, and oh, they sound just like me. I relate more to them. And I feel like that really helped our community grow as well, because now it wasn't like this faceless brand. There was more of this like personality, and people could see kind of how we actually sound like and what we're about as well. But yeah, since then it was just we were doing like live audio discussions. We partnered with Peanut, and we did
Oh, that's sick.
yeah, we
That
did
is sick.
an exclusive series with them, with their pods, and that was really successful. And our topics, we did stuff on like birth, I think, was it birth plan disappointment?
Birth disappointment, sex after a baby.
Wow.
Unsolicited advice, did we do the
Unsolicited
Oh my God, I
advice.
hate unsolicited.
What was the other one that we did? I can't remember what it was, but we did quite a few things. Was there one on friendship or?
I don't think so.
Because
I feel like we have done a friendship talk,
yeah,
but I don't think it was
we've
with
had
them.
quite a few chats. So, so that was our first partnership with Peanut, where we did our exclusive series, and then after that, it was just figuring out how do we make this sustainable.
Yeah.
So we both went back into full-time work, and then it was just trying to balance working full-time, doing Orbit, and then being a mum. And then also about outside of that, having a life and doing everything else, being with your partner. So there's just a lot to juggle. But now I feel like there's a better balance, because we know like strategically, okay, this is what we're doing. This is where we want it to go. So what Orbit has morphed into now, we're able to design experiences for other brands. So we're working with a lot more bigger brands, designing those type of experiences. We partnered with Glossier, and we did our first in-person event last year. And then we did Mother's Day one as well, which was really nice. And then with Jago's House and just other organizations where it's like we're all believing in the same thing, so we don't have to be in competition. We can actually work together because we want to achieve we all want to achieve the same thing. So why be in competition with one another when we could actually work towards that if that's what you're really about. So it's morphed into workshops, events, working with brands, doing stuff with corporate partners, doing activities and workshops on like being a woman at work, being a mum at work, looking at upskilling managers as well. Because my experience coming back from maternity was in the gutter. And my experience being a mum at work has been piss poor. So really providing organizations with the right tools to properly support women back to work, because everything pushes you out of work. Like from hours being like flexible to not really being flexible, not really understanding that when you're working from home, your child is also there. Like they're not gonna just be quiet every single time you're in a meeting. They're going to want your attention and not a robot. Like I work, but my job finishes at a certain time, but I'm always a mum. That doesn't stop. And they have to be accommodating to that. And I don't think work fully understands just how difficult it is, more so for mothers, to adapt and to find themselves again. Because I was really career driven before I had my daughter. Like I was convinced I'm gonna do 6 months maternity leave, she's gonna go to a nursery, I'll be back at work, and I'm gonna go for this position. Like that was my thinking process when I was pregnant. I had to, and everything changed. And so how do you like readjust to that, where you want to slow things down? And so that's kind of the stuff that we like doing with our corporate partners and just offering people that support.
Love that.
And then going beyond that as well, not just motherhood, but also doing things on menopause at work. Like, we experience so much as women, and nothing is spoken about, but you're expected to still give your all. And so we see Orbit being almost like that wraparound care for women. Like, okay, if you're going through your period, or if you're facing fertility issues, or you've become a mum, or actually you're deciding, do you even want this journey? Like, what does it look like from you? Relationships, sex. Like, we want to be almost a go-to brand for anything that's related to womanhood. And we're excited because we're finally taking those steps to get to that point, and also be recognized for that as well.
That's amazing. I love that.
No, that's sick.
That
That's
sounds
sick.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, as even there's so many women who suffer things like endometriosis, PCOS, and they're expected to be at work on their desk, give it 100%, just like everyone else.
And it's just
With a
disregarded. But
chronic
it's just a
pain.
period. Everyone has that.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the fact that when we talk about, or when we look at like motherhood, and the fact that so many women find it hard, or it's not even find, like, it is hard, but because everyone, or so many women do it, or that's, you know, what has been put on us as, you know, society's expectation that at some point you're going to become a mum. When you face these hardships, it's like, whoa, it's kind of feeling like you just have to kind of get on with it, because this is just something that we do. This is something that happens. And that's kind of, how it is in terms of if employers looking at you to just say, oh, but it's just a period. But actually it's not. There's so much more that comes to it. So we just want ultimately for women to feel seen, heard and valued in every sense. And there's so much that will take, having conversations, doing things like this, going into corporate partners and delivering certain workshops so that their employees feel better, so that their employers know how to better manage and effectively support their employees. Like, there's so many different things that fall under that umbrella, but one step at a time. And we just
I was at work, and at my workplace they partnered up with a construction company, amazing construction company called Boygs. And I went into their office and I went to the toilet. I really had to go. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, disgusting construction toilet. I used to work in construction. So I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be so yucky. But I went in there and it smelled so good. It was so clean. It was so beautiful. And what surprised me the most was they had a little basket with period pads and tampons and like panty liners and all these beautiful things. And I looked at it and I was like, if I just came and sat down here and realised my period had started and I didn't have a single pad on me, that would have just saved my life.
Right? It's the littlest thing that makes such a
I was thinking
huge
that's
decision.
So amazing. And I was saying to myself, everywhere needs to have this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everywhere. Corporate, all of the office buildings, everywhere needs to have a section in the toilet. Not the machines where you put £1 in, because who even carries cash anymore? But they need to have a complimentary basket that needs to get refilled. They need a budget for it.
No, 100%.
These are
it
things
makes
that
such
they need
a
to
difference.
know. You know?
These little things that can just make our lives as women easier. And it's so funny you said that, because I remember so I don't work for this company anymore. Fuck them forever, I promise you.
Fuck them. I'm a ride out. I will belly up for you, girl.
Listen, you know the hardships I faced there. And I remember they did like a little meeting because they wanted to like find out basically like how can we, you know, it's like a woman's thing. And someone had suggested exactly that. Like, I think in the toilets we should have like, you know, just tampons and pads and just have that accessible. And I remember hearing like a little bit of a pushback because, oh, you know, but what if people take them home, or what if it's misused? And it's just like,
how,
guys, like,
let's be for real. No one's
real.
gonna be like, let me just take some pads and go home. No.
And no, but even if that is the case,
what's the issue?
It's
they're
gonna
using
be
it. That's the whole
exactly.
point.
It's
Yeah, I
probably
hear
because
that.
they needed it, or they couldn't afford to get some. And it's just honestly, it's a joke, man. Like, some of these companies, they really talk about being so for this, and we stand for this, and we want this, and
inclusivity, and you know, all
it's
these
so far
words.
from that. So far
mad.
from that. The reality is just
I found working as a mum so different to working like when I did not have a child. Like, I think the issues with like being inclusive and caring for people kind of stops at the gender pay gap for a lot of organizations, but not at the care that you provide people. And I just think it's embarrassing, I think, for a lot of organizations. And I went through a period I was in the ghetto. But where it just dawned on me that like the way we're living, the way work is, the expectations on us just is not sustainable. Like everything is almost designed to push you out or to push you so far to your breaking point, and then you just have to recover and still keep going. Like it doesn't make sense. And so for me, like, yeah, I think having Orbit and with where we're going now, I think something that I'm really happy with is that we get to decide what this work looks like. Like, it doesn't have to be a 9 to 5. I don't want to be working all the time. I want to have more breaks. I want to be able to spend time with my daughter. Like, I always tell you, my dream is if she's, I don't know, studying something in history and it's got to do with the Egyptians, I can say, okay, cool, let's go to Egypt. And let's just go there and see what's going on, so you can actually apply that learning. Like, I want to have that flexibility and freedom. Beautiful. And I don't like feeling constrained by an organization saying, well, you can't do this or you can't do that, or she wants to cuddle or watch something, and it would break my heart every time. Well, mummy's in a meeting, can you wait? Mummy's in a meeting. Like, I did not feel like a proper mum, and I think that guilt is natural. But having Orbit and doing the work that we're doing and speaking to organizations who do want to move things forward is refreshing, because I really do hope that by the time our daughters are of working age, this looks different. It's standard that there's period products everywhere they go. It's standard that there's menstrual leave. It's standard that if they've got endometriosis, they can just tell the employer about it and they get it. There's a policy in place to support with that. Like, everything becomes standard. And when they get older and they're experiencing menopause, it's standard that you maybe have some like leave for that, or there's products there, or there's an organization that comes in and does a talk on how that, like, everything just becomes standard. But I feel like for women, unfortunately, it's kind of like motherhood. Like, everything we experience is like the world's worst, best kept secret. Like, we just don't say what's going on, and we get into it and experience it, and the next person doesn't say what's going on, and then you just believe that what you're experiencing is the norm. And I feel like when we started out, there were quite a few people who were telling us, don't talk about pregnancy this way, or don't talk about this, that way, you're going to scare people into this, you're gonna, it's a lot.
I've had comments about that.
Like,
why are you trying to put women off having kids?
It's not putting off.
That's actually the reality.
Exactly.
If I'm not sugarcoating it, and I'm not telling you, oh my God, it's so much fun, it's great all the time, and I'm telling you the reality of it, and that's putting you off, then
maybe motherhood isn't for you.
Maybe motherhood isn't for real.
But you should have that. I feel like people don't get that. For you to have a choice in whether or not you want to be a mum, you actually need to know what you're going into.
Exactly.
And you won't know. And sometimes it makes me laugh, because I'll see like posts where someone's just given birth and they're like, oh, motherhood isn't hard. I'm like, oh,
girl, you don't know.
You do not know. But like, you won't know until you experience it, unfortunately. But it doesn't have to be that you have to wait until you experience it to at least have an idea of what could come your way. And I feel like if we keep silencing people with their varying experiences, like, you're just going to be sold one version, and it's just not sustainable. It doesn't work. Women are dying giving birth. Like, let it be a choice that someone wants to go into it, but let them have all the information.
And even further from that, aside from like, all the risks that come to, the woman for pregnancy and childbirth and all the rest of it, going into motherhood with a vision of what you think it looks like, and then facing the reality of that, so many women or so many kids rather are being neglected, or they're not being properly cared for, because actually the mum or the dad or whoever it isn't properly caring for them, because they didn't realize that this is all that would come with. They didn't realize all the sacrifices they would make. They didn't realize all of these different things, and had they been properly informed, they probably wouldn't have made that decision. There's going to be so many women out there that resent their kids or resent something because of the decision that they made to have kids, when actually this isn't really what they wanted. But because we're just taught that we're going to be a wife, we're going to be a
that's what you have to aspire to,
and this and that, then naturally it just will get to a point where you do these things not really understanding and knowing what you're getting yourself in for. And that's why it's so important to really be shouting from the rooftops of, this is what the reality is. Because now it could be even one person that has heard it and it's like, actually, do you know what? Maybe I don't want to be a mum. Or actually I've heard it and be like, oh wow, I feel so much better prepared going into that. Yeah. And I think it's so important. Like, I have a friend now who's close to me, and she is pregnant, and she will come to me and she'll ask, and I always tell her, like, do you want me to like give you the realness? Like, I don't want to scare you or anything, especially if you're, you know, pregnant. Yeah. But do you want the realness, or do you want me to just sugarcoat? And she'll always say, give me the realness, and I will free it up every single time.
You've got to.
Every single time.
You know what's mad?
You have to.
When I was pregnant, I was desperate to talk to someone I wanted someone to tell me the realness, basically. Yeah. So I used to like scour YouTube and watch all these vlogs and stuff like that, but I would only see like white women talking about motherhood, and I couldn't relate. I'd ask my mum and be like, you know, how's labor like? And like, and my mum would be like, yeah, it's really hard, but she would never
she
would never get into it. The whole postpartum thing, my mum never really got into it. And I think the reason why my mum didn't say much is maybe it's because my pregnancy was so chill, and sometimes my mum and sister forgot I was pregnant.
She didn't want to trigger anything.
Yeah, they were just like, oh, sweet, I think she'll be fine, that kind of thing. And I remember I was on the phone to one of my aunties, and I was like, so how's labour like? How's labour like? Please just tell me, like what do I expect? How can I prepare for it? What do I expect when having a baby? And she was like, it's really hard, but you'll get through it just like everyone else. And that's all I used to get. That's all I used to get. I never, no one ever said like, okay, postpartum, your hormones are gonna be all over the place. Maybe if you're prone to anxiety and depression, just keep that in mind. Maybe you should get therapy after you have a child. Like, all of those things, like, no one really gets into it.
Yeah.
So when I had my child, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
the postpartum, the paranoia, the anxiety. I used to stay up all night and watch her.
See if she's breathing.
What do you know about jumping? Yep.
She's still breathing. Listen, when they're not moving, and you're like,
oh my god.
No,
literally.
Literally, in between. It's literally,
I
is
used to
she
lick
dead?
my finger, put underneath her nose. If I feel a little,
I promise I do it to this day. I still do it to this
I
day.
will never forget this one night that absolutely like, that night just completely threw me off. I was watching Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, big up Grey's.
Love a bit of Grey's.
Every time.
I need to get back on that. I was watching Grey's Anatomy, and Jenna was asleep on the cot. She was fresh, newborn, luckily I was awake. Yeah, bear in mind the lights are off, so you can only see the light from my screen. So I'm watching it, and then I heard like a sound. And I looked, and I thought maybe she's awake. I had to get my phone, and I put the flashlight on. I looked over at her face, and she had milk covered all over her face because she just vomited through her nose. And she was like choking like this.
Oh my gosh.
The way I jumped out of bed. And I had my scar, my C-section.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, forget about the surgery. The way I jumped out of bed, put the light on, and she's literally like that. Like she couldn't breathe. Oh my God. That night I wanted to...
I can imagine, like, even
I would have lost it.
I would have lost it.
The stress, literally, I was trying to like burp. I was thinking, what's going on? Because my daughter had this thing where she used to like vomit through her nose, even if she was burped, but just at any time, even when she's sleeping. Like the milk will come out of her nose, and it was like she's choking. She'll go red, like, and she would just panics, and you could see it in her eyes. And she used to go through that, and it's like I gave up sleeping. I used to just stay up all night.
I don't blame you.
Honestly.
I gave up sleeping, and then like when I hear my mum's footsteps, because I stayed with my mum for like 3 months. When I would hear my mum's footsteps, she opens the door, and I'm like, take your grandchild so that I can sleep. Like it was like that every single day for 3 months. And I remember there was this one morning where it happened again with my mum, and it happened around like 10 a.m. and I was just preparing to go to sleep. And I could hear my mum screaming downstairs. She was like, Suia, what's happening? I was like,
I can only imagine the panic.
Yeah, so I go downstairs, and my mum was like, she was choking. What do we do? And I was like, she does this to me all the time. Like, I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just so pure paranoia, pure anxiety. Like, the newborn stage, I always tell people
that is the scariest. It is the scariest stage.
They're like so fragile.
You're just constantly worried.
Telling everyone that I farted over that any day.
Honestly,
I swear down.
Now at least I know that like my daughter, she's 2. She has her own room in her own cot. If anything, like if she chokes or anything, or if the blanket's over her, she can move herself around. She can cough. She can scream out for me and cry for me. But when they're newborns,
can't do anything.
You have to watch them like a hawk. Like,
it's a lot.
It's just...
I used to sleep with mine underneath my armpit. She used to be right here, and then everyone would be like, oh, but aren't you gonna crush her? I'm like, after all that I went through, you think I'm gonna let myself deep sleep so that I crush her? Are you okay in your head?
You're not even in a deep sleep, honestly.
You're never in a deep
No,
sleep.
it's so funny because
How is it
I
a
remember
deep
like
sleep
growing
when
up,
you
my
hear them
mum
breathing.
my mum would always be a light sleeper, and I'm like, why? Like you're just any little noise and you're awake. I don't understand. And now
I'm a light sleeper
I
now.
get it, but
Yeah.
it's funny actually because even though I say I'm a light sleeper, my partner would say I'm not. He is always the one that would like jump up. Like even to this day, like now he is such a light sleeper. Like any little thing, he's
The nights are the worst. I feel like, they're definitely the most scariest. And that newborn stage, there's all this information about SIDS. You just don't know what's going to happen. You're always panicking.
SIDS is the worst information I've ever received in my life.
It's important though, but it's so scary. It's so scary.
because it's like you're giving me all this information, and yet there's nothing I can do.
There's absolutely nothing you can do.
There's
about
nothing
it.
I can do.
When I heard about SIDS, I was literally sat there like, Sia just telling me that she could just go to bed normal one day and then not wake up.
And there's nothing I can do to help facilitate and make sure that this
Nothing
isn't
at all.
the case.
It's very scary.
It's scary.
I spent the first 6 months like on edge.
Oh, for sure.
After 6 months, I was like, she should be all right now.
Yeah. Like no, the newborn stage. Oh,
I would
I
not
always
do it
tell
again.
people, give me a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yo, I
Like,
will take all the tantrums.
No, you guys, I'm
I
genuinely
will
enjoying
take all of
toddlerhood.
it. Oh,
Like
it's
I'm in
good.
I'm in
No,
the
it's
middle
gonna
of
get
it
more
right now.
fun. It's gonna get more.
Yeah,
and more
I love
fun.
it.
I
love
enjoy it because and the main reason why I enjoy it is because she sleeps at night and I sleep at night. You
That's
can
fair.
cause chaos all day. I don't give a shit.
But you know you're gonna get a good night's sleep at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
When it's time for bed, she'll grab her teddy and she will go to bed.
You
Do
know,
you know what I mean?
sometimes, yeah,
And I
we'll
love
stay
that.
a little bit after her bedtime, and then she'll be like, "Mummy, it's time for me to go sleep."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Listen,
"Let's go."
it was that for me. It was that transition between when you're. Oh, are you tired? Do you want to go to bed? No, I'm not
yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
No, so now I'll be like,
Fighting
actually,
it.
I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired. Mommy,
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I love that.
But now because it's so light outside,
Yeah.
when it's her bedtime, she goes to bed at 8 and it's still
So does
light
mine.
outside. So even yesterday, she's like, but Mummy, it's not my bedtime. Because I was like, come on, let's get you into your pajamas. No, but Mummy, am I going to bed now? I said, no, but you're going to bed literally in like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, but it's light outside, darling. It's
I had to tell
you know what the time
Capella,
is?
Mrs. Sun is still having a party. You just gotta sleep. When you go to bed, she'll go to bed.
Yeah, but you know, I get it. Cause I remember being a kid, and I don't mean like as young as them. I remember being like, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9, and it's bright as day out. But you're sending me,
It's
sending me
one
to
of
bed.
the- it's nighttime.
You gotta go.
I
You
don't
still
see the
gotta
moon. What are
go.
you talking about?
Honestly, night
You still
wear.
gotta go.
That's jokes.
No, wintertime is the best. By 4 o'clock, you can say it's bedtime.
Listen, that's exactly what crossed my mind yesterday when she talked about it's light outside. I said, you
You can go
wait.
to bed anytime.
You
No.
wait.
But so we are 4 o'clock.
No, of course, yeah. They're gonna
That's
wake up
mad.
they're gonna wake up at 8.
You know what my friend
8,
does?
3 a.m.
You know what my friend does? She tells her daughter, they do the military clock. So the 20 and the 19 and the 18. So as soon as it hits 20, she's like, look, it's 20. Regardless of whether it's dark, bright, anything outside, she's like, it's 20 o'clock. So it's time for you to go to bed.
Yeah, I know that's right.
And
Get your
then
ass in there.
she's so funny because when it gets late, she's like, what are you doing? It's 21. You lot are funny. Oh my god.
You know, there's big adults who don't know how to read the time
I
in
swear
that
to
way.
God, there's big adults that
Like
don't know how to do it.
I'm like me. Look, 17, 22. Like
Yeah, I
I'm,
have
I'm
that as
into
well.
that.
I
Yeah.
have that as well.
Yeah. I can't take it seriously when it's like
But
5.
you know, if you ask me quickly and I see 17:35, I'm gonna say it's 7 o'clock
No, that happens to me, but
because
it's
I
not.
look at the 7.
Yeah.
I don't look at the
oh,
1.
I see.
That
I'll
catches
say
me
it's 7.
bedtimes.
That happens to me all the time.
I'm not an idiot, guys. I promise.
It's 4 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, it's 6
Oh yeah, I
because
hear
I looked
that.
at the 6.
I hear that. I want to ask you guys about like, did you guys have a positive birth experience in terms of like?
She did, I didn't.
Yeah, that's what I didn't want to shout. So I said, yeah.
No, what I did in some aspects, I need to reframe how I view birth. I did in some aspects,
Yeah.
but not in others. Yeah.
Was
What
it
do you
more
feel like?
was it the support side of things?
Yeah, I was gonna say what could have been done to more support you.
So I feel like I didn't get a debrief. So
Of course.
I feel like everyone should definitely get a debrief. But and it was actually in one of our chats that we did where there was a really good midwife and she was in the room and we were talking. She was like, did you ever get a debrief? I'm like, what's that?
Never
And
even heard
we
of it
started
before
talking about everything and that's when she broke down like what it was I was actually experiencing.
Yeah.
So now that I can see what was happening, like, I view it differently. It was still traumatic, but some aspects were good. I'll say the positive part of it was, like, I was still able to do some of the stuff I really wanted to do. I really wanted to stay mobile during labour. And for the first part, I was able to. I really wanted to be on the ball. I was able to do that as well. And I was able to listen to my music as well. I really wanted to, like, listen to my rain music and stay in this, like, calm zone. And for the first half, I was able to do that. Where it wasn't so good was the induction itself. I don't feel like I was listened to with
I
that.
had that as well.
Yeah. Like, I just feel like I understand they need to do it, but I felt like there wasn't consent in the way it was done. Like, I didn't consent to it being done that way. I didn't feel listened to. I explained to the woman, like, I know you have to do this, but talk me through it. And then she'll just go and shove her hand up my vagina. And do you know what I mean? And for me,
What type of induction was it?
I got induced twice. So it was like a pill which had like kind of like
Pessary.
laces, yeah. And then there was the gel that they did the second time.
Okay.
So the second time that I was induced, I became hyperstimulated, which no one explained to me, but my contractions were back to back. So I
That
had
happened
no,
to me.
I had no break in between.
Oh, that happened to
And
me.
everything was just going so quickly. I remember they did the gel. I heard it was almost like I heard my back crack. But now I know it was my waters that broke. But nothing. I didn't feel any water or anything. Went to the bathroom and it was just blood. Went to my partner. I said, "This is not normal. Can you get someone?" Then they were like, "Oh, you need to wear a pad." So I wore a pad, and I don't know what happened. Like, I just wasn't wearing knickers after a while. I don't know what happened there. But because it was back to back, it was like, it just, something was off. Everything just felt off. I'm having a contraction, and then it's like one is easing off, but as soon as it eases, another one
straight
comes.
away, yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not getting a break. I don't know why I'm not getting a
That
break.
happened to me too.
Yeah, it was so intense. And I just remember I was on every drug possible, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna take any pain meds. I'm gonna breathe through this. It was so intense. And then I think from when they did the second induction, within like 15 minutes, I was 4 centimeters.
Whoa.
Everything went quickly, but she dropped really quickly. And how she dropped was like, basically was giving me the urge to push, but you can't push at 4 centimeters. So I'm like, I need to do a poo. They're like, no, you can't. You're not ready yet. I said, I can't control what's going on here. And then with that happening and the contractions being back to back, her heart rate started dropping. She got really distressed. And then it got to a point where it was dropping, but it wasn't picking back up. And that's when we got rushed to emergency C-section. And there was a nurse there. And this is why I say this is God, because her name is Sarah. My sister's name's Sarah, but we have the same birthday. And so I was like, oh, I really want to like do vaginal labor. Like, I really want to do vaginal labor. I think at that point I was like 6.5, 7 centimeters. And she said, I'm going to be real with you. If you want to do vaginal labor, I can't guarantee that you'll have a live baby at the end of it. Like, she's just not picking her heart rate up. And so then it was just like, okay, fuck that. I'm just going to go and have this C-section. And I remember my partner called my mum in, but I didn't want her there because she kept going on about having a vaginal birth and, oh, if you scream too much and they'll just give you a C-section, or because you're first time mum, they're just going to give you a C-section. And so how I interpreted it was she looked disappointed, but she was actually scared for me. So I always felt like, oh, now she's going to start talking about, oh, why didn't you give birth vaginally? I'll go into family after that. But I had my emergency C-section. The things that I did enjoy about that, they did respect my wishes. Like, I was so high, but I told him, look, I've got a very pretty vagina. Don't fuck it up. Like, do a nice clean cut. And he did. When she was born, I didn't get to see her straight away because, well, to be honest with you, they didn't think she'd be alive. So there was a lot of people in the room and she didn't cry for a while. But then once she did, and I remember I was asking questions, but no one would really answer back. Like, is she okay? Why is she not crying? The room is just complete silence. Like, I'm telling my partner, go and see her. He's not allowed to see her. Like, they're just all working on her. Then she finally cried. Then he could see her. And It's so weird because I'm saying this, and then, but my first reaction when I saw her was, why the fuck is her head like that? It was so like,
Was it like a cone head?
yeah,
Cone head.
that's all I saw. I'm like, oh, why is it like that? They're like, oh no, we'll go back to normal. Oh, okay, she's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a shock. Like,
Yeah,
whoa.
it was so elongated, but she was stuck in the canal for a long time. So there was a lot of manipulation trying to get her out. There's just a lot that happened, and then give birth. I thought I would cry, like watching One Born every minute. I thought I'd be crying. I was so triggered seeing the tissues that I packed because it was unopened. I felt like such a bad person because I didn't even use them. But they put her on me and I just didn't feel anything. All I felt was hunger. I was just so hungry. I just wanted to sleep. I didn't have any energy to even cry. And it wasn't until I say she was maybe 3 weeks old where, they did the heel prick test.
Yeah.
And I saw her bleeding and it hit me. I was like, fuck, she's mine. Like, this is a human being.
Yeah.
She's mine. She's bleeding. And that was the first time I cried. 3 weeks later. But yeah, but the labour, looking back, there were some parts I did enjoy, other parts I didn't. I'll definitely say I'm hilarious when I'm high on drugs. Like, I'm very funny. I'm a strong conspiracy theorist when I am high. Like, oh, the hospital's after me. Everyone wants my baby. Like, that's everything that I was talking about was just, they're after me. They want to get me. It was mad. But it still was funny, so that was good. And then after giving birth, the treatment wasn't great. I was allergic to the gel that they use for the C-section, so I ended up having blisters. And then things kept getting stuck onto me, so my knickers got stuck. And instead of getting a saline solution, this woman just ripped it off and my skin came off with it.
But at the
Why
scar,
the hell?
where the scar was.
So my knickers got stuck like just here because of there was just a lot of gel and she didn't take it off properly. I'm going into the shower. I'm trying to just I'm thinking water will get it off. And she's like, oh, let's just take it off. And she literally ripped it
I
off.
would have kicked her in the chin.
And then after that, the doctor comes in, white man. I'm like, oh, things keep getting stuck on me. Can you remove this gel properly? And he's like, oh, I can just get the saline solution. So I'm like, your midwife or nurse or whoever the hell she is literally just ripped this off. Now I've got this massive scar. Why didn't she get the saline solution? There was a lot like postpartum that I was not happy with. But there was one really nice midwife. Well, actually two really nice midwives that I thank God for, because they were like, one was literally like my mum. Like, she would come in, she would always check on me. She'll come and bring me food. She'll tell me, oh, if you just need me to come in and hold the baby, let me know so you can sleep. Your partner can go home and sleep. Like, I really appreciated that. And the other lady, like, she'll just always come in and check on me. Make sure that I've eaten. If there's more food, she'll come and bring it for me. Like, they really did look after me. But yeah, then coming back home, I think for me, it was having to explain to people why I had an emergency C-section and people not believe that I needed it.
Oh,
like,
my
that
God,
was,
yes.
that really
And now
irritated
you're sitting
me.
there telling them everything.
Yeah.
The reason why is because, you didn't
And yeah.
and then I had to get rushed to the theatre.
Literally. And then it got to a point where I'm like, I don't need to re-traumatize myself. This is how it happened. I need an emergency C-section. Don't ask me any more questions. And yeah, it just felt, I don't know, I felt shame around it. I didn't feel like I birthed her because I was also getting a lot of messages.
Brenda,
Yeah.
till this day, sometimes, I stop myself when I say, I can't physically say I gave birth. You know that?
It was so hard. Yeah.
And
It's
sometimes
so hard.
I catch myself and when I say, when I gave birth, no, when I had Jenna or after the labour.
Yeah.
I have to correct myself because giving birth to me is pushing out the baby.
Yeah. So for me,
But you
it's
still
the
gave
baby's,
birth,
she's got to come out.
To me, gave birth. I can't explain.
No, I get
The
what
way-
you're
Yeah.
saying.
the
I
way-
know you gave birth.
I know I gave birth, but with me, the C-section to me felt like they just took the baby out. I didn't give birth.
But you know what?
The
It's
baby's
because
gonna
of,
grow. It needs to come out, regardless of whether
it's
it
how
comes out your
people talk
asshole
about C-sections
or anywhere
though.
else.
Like,
It has to come out.
people always talk about C-sections like it's the easier route, and it's definitely not. But like, however you give birth, you give birth. But it took a lot for me to get to that point as well. But yeah, that was, I feel like, parts of my labor were good, other parts weren't. But I have a more positive experience of motherhood, which I'm very thankful for.
I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, the same thing happened to me.
Really?
They did the pessary induction because she was like nearly 2 weeks late, and I was having 8 to 10 contractions every 10 minutes, which is like 3 times the normal.
Yeah.
You're supposed to only have 2 or 3 in 10 minutes because you're supposed to have a break.
Yeah.
And it was literally back to back. Like, it was back to back from 2 p.m. until 3 o'clock in the morning. So nearly 12 hours.
It's interesting because I know you said that you had a natural birth and you didn't have an epidural, and so I was thinking, okay, cool, like that was me. But I was also like, I had back to back contractions, but I obviously know how like kind of yours was, or the cause rather of how you got hyperstimulated.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, okay, well maybe it's normal, but now you've had your induction, so that would have caused yours.
It did.
I don't actually know what caused mine. I remember at one point during my labour they had to put something on her head for the heartbeat.
That might.
Oh
But
my
outside
God,
of
they did that
that,
to me as well.
I just remember, like my contractions were just back to back to back to back. But
But
maybe that was what
when you
caused it,
say
'cause I
back to
didn't know.
back,
I mean, there was
how
no.
many in 10 minutes?
I don't know. I don't have
Oh,
any
no way.
document, but I just remember there was no. I remember feeling like
Was that throughout your labour or?
No, that was. I want to say from like 4 a.m.
Okay.
About from like 4 a.m. till 10, almost 11 when I had her. And
Was it after the waters broke or before?
so my back waters had broke. Mind you, I didn't even know you had back and front waters.
What the
Oh, what?
What
Say
the
that
fuck?
Yeah.
Say that
What the
again.
fuck?
I just thought the water was one water.
Yeah, so I don't really know like all the logistics to it, but so at like 11 o'clock at night my waters broke, right? And it was, I just remember sitting in the bed and all of a sudden I just felt just liquid. I was sitting in like a little pool of water, so I'm just thinking that's my water's broken. All of my waters are
that's it,
broken.
yeah.
And it wasn't until literally just before I gave birth, so probably about 10 a.m. So Milan was born at like 10:40 something, I think. And it was about 10 a.m. and I remember a midwife was like to me, she was telling me like how far along I am and where things are at, but we can't move from here because we need your waters to break. So you can either wait it out until your front waters break by themselves, which could take a couple of hours, or I can put my finger up and break it for you. And I was like, let's get this show on the road, like go in and break it. So she went in and broke my front waters for me, and so you
when
have.
you say front and
But
back,
I don't get it. Why is it back and front? I don't.
I'm gonna do some
have
research.
a clue. I never like
That's
honestly I didn't like, it
interesting.
was just interesting, but I never like researched it any further than that. But yeah, she.
Do you know this makes sense? Yeah, because I remember wearing like the maternity, the maternity pads at the size of my arm.
them lady pads.
The wham things, yo. They're literally it's like this thick and it's like this wide and it's like this long. I remember wearing that and I remember sitting down thinking, why do I feel wet? Like my waters haven't broken, nothing's broken, but I just feel like there's a stream of something coming out, and I couldn't understand what it was. So what if it was my back waters?
No, it genuinely, it really
Because
could've
they
been.
popped my waters as well.
Oh, is
but
it?
They used that long hook thing and then it just went whoosh.
Yeah, no, sorry, the
It's
thought
like
of
a
it.
waterfall, and it was like a hot waterfall. It was like it was hot.
Really?
It was
no
hot.
way.
When they broke my waters, it came rushing down my legs, and it was hot. I remember thinking, "Raw, body temperature is hot."
Damn.
This
Oh
is
my
really
gosh.
hot. And it was like light green. So
Oh,
they
was she
stressing.
distressed?
Yeah, she was a little bit distressed. She did a little poo.
I was gonna say how she put that she poo.
Yeah, so she did a small poo
Is
inside.
it meconium or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, meconium.
She done a small poo and it was all green, but it wasn't like very green. So they were concerned, but they weren't that concerned. And then but it was before the waters were broken that I had the back-to-back contractions. I had the back-to-back contractions from as soon as they put the pessary in me.
Oh really?
Within half an hour, the contraction started. So obviously me
It's
at
so
home,
quick.
I'm doing up holistic. I'm like,
Yeah, girl, I have beef with that. You know my beef. You know my beef. I have beef with that hippie lady
"Where
on
that hippie
YouTube.
lady?" I was watching her.
Yep.
She said, take a deep breath.
Literally.
I was doing up all of that for hours and hours and hours and hours. It got to the point where I couldn't even breathe. Like I was done out here. And then when I went to the hospital, they gave me an injection to slow it down. But they said to me, this injection could potentially stop your labor.
Oh really?
But I had been going through it from 2:30 until midnight. So I had been going through it for 10 hours at that point. So I was like, give me the injection now. So they gave me the injection, but the injection didn't work. So it didn't work straight away. It didn't kick in for a long time. So that's around midnight they gave me the injection. Around about 4 a.m. is when the contractions slowed down. And it went so slow to the point where I was having one every 10 minutes.
Wow.
And at that point, I was chilling. I was like, yo, what's up,
I wish I
everyone?
could chill, honestly.
I'm outside, this is me. And I'd forgotten about all the previous pain I was just going through, but I had the gas in there. It was great. And then after that, I was trying to go sleep. I was like, yo, I haven't got no contractions. I'm chilling. I'm trying to go have a nap. I didn't sleep for 2 days. So I was about to fall asleep. Excuse me, we need to come break your waters because this is taking too long. And
They like to rush people. Like, I found,
they
like...
rushed me.
Yeah, the when they first induced me, like, I was actually going at a really good pace, but she was coming off shift, so she wanted to speed it up before she finished.
That's what they said.
And I feel like that
Changing
messed everything up. Like, instead of her allowing me to just continue to labour the way I was, she wanted to rush it up because she wanted to deliver this baby before she went home.
Yeah.
Like, it messed
That's
everything
really
up.
sad.
It
Like,
is.
my
That's a real
birth
lack of
delivery
care.
does not depend on your shift times.
I think sometimes they forget, like, yes, maybe this is your 100th baby that you're delivering, but this is my first.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a very special experience for me. So,
Yeah.
I guess I get you're trying to eat or go home and sleep, but I really just want to experience this the way I thought I would.
Positively.
Yeah.
As well. And you don't want to be traumatized after.
Exactly.
But something fucked up did happen to me. I don't know if you guys have watched our previous videos, but after you give birth, there's that injection that they give you to like help take the placenta out. And I told the woman I didn't want it, and I told her it wasn't in my birth plan. And she looked at me. I said no. She looked at me and she said, "I'm gonna have it anyway," and gave it to me.
Do you know?
But you know, because I was so done out, I was literally like this. Yeah, I was like, I don't want it. I was like going back to just chilling. She looked at me square in the eyes and just gave it to me.
Do you know?
And I had no energy, but in my head I was like,
It's
had no
it's
energy.
sad. Like we worked with the Birth Trauma Association when we did our birth trauma chat on Clubhouse, and you would be surprised at just how often women are violated during labour and delivery. Like, I think sometimes, especially when it's like your first, or even if it's your second or third, like, you just trust the medical staff that are there, but you do still have a say on how things go. If you don't want to be checked vaginally, you can say no to that. Like, you can give and also withdraw consent on certain things, and you shouldn't be made to feel like you have to do this. Of course, like, if your child is really in danger, then of course they will let you know, and you've got all the resources available to then make a decision. But if you're saying no to something, they should actually respect that. They shouldn't then turn around and do it anyway. If a lot of women, I feel like if we were like more educated on our rights during labour and delivery, hospitals would be fucked, because so many of them just violate it constantly.
Yeah, it wasn't
really
until
sad.
that chat that I didn't realize that, you know, having the consent, and you actually have to give your consent, and if you don't, it's sexual assault.
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Mad.
And the first time I'd learned about it, long after I'd done giving birth. So do you know what I mean? Like, so for a lot of women, that could be like the first time that they're realizing, actually, hold on.
You feel violated, but you don't have the words
I
for it.
felt violated with that injection. And then, you know, after that, they proceeded to almost instantaneously pull my placenta out of me. Like, first of all, I told her, don't cut the cord. I wanted all of the blood to come out of me fully into her before they chopped like the umbilical cord. They didn't listen to that. They chopped it within like 10 seconds of me giving birth. And then after that, I told her not to give me the injection. She gave me the injection. And then she literally stood in front of me and pulled out my placenta like this. Like, it was like she was pulling a rope. Like, literally, I could feel it detaching out of me, and I could feel it come out.
No, it's
Whoa.
it's so funny you say that, because since having Milan, I feel like anything that leaves my vagina,
You can feel it.
feel it.
Every single clot.
And
It's a mini birth.
anything that's leaving, what's that?
No,
I can feel
hypersensitive.
everything.
Yeah, same. I think it's the trauma. It's the trauma of it. And as well, the amount of times they put their fingers in, they've been sending me like letters for for months and months and months. Book your surgical screening, book your smear test, book your surgical screening.
Yeah.
And every time I look at it, bro, every time I look at it, I'm like,
do you know what
Go through that?
you have
No.
to tell them, like, I was really strict with my GP. I said, look, I've not had a very good experience with medical people and my vagina, so
Yes.
this is how we're gonna do it. I know you have to put your fingers up me, I know this has to go inside me, but you're going to talk me through it, and if you don't, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yes.
And you have, like, I know sometimes, I don't know if it's just like a British thing, but you don't want to like what's the word, like, make it harder for people or be a nuisance or whatever. So
Yeah.
you'd prefer to be quiet. But after my labor and delivery, I said, there's no way I'm going into, because I have to look after my vagina, but there's no way I'm gonna have to keep getting sometimes what I feel like violated every single time we do this. So yeah, just making sure that you speak up for yourself, like,
To advocate for yourself.
yes,
like.
100%.
The people watching, even if you don't have a child, hey, yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah. Hey, look over here, come closer.
No, but you have a choice.
Advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Listen
have
to your
a
body,
choice.
listen to your gut, honestly.
It can be the difference of life and death, man.
It
You hear
really
so
can.
many
It
really
stories
can
of
be.
where when people have advocated for themselves, and it's just so
Yeah.
important.
And that point you made about how, like, when your baby first came out and she was on your chest and you thought, why am I not crying? All of those things are normal. Like, I didn't cry. Like, you know, I was just looking at her like, oh wow, like she looks a bit weird. Like, you know what I mean? It's normal. Like, I swear to God, like, I didn't bond with my daughter until 3 months in. Like, and I think it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously some women, they cry as soon as, you know, the baby comes, and that's all nice and everything. But if you don't get emotional, like, it's okay.
Yeah, you're
No,
not a
it's
bad
all
person because of
Okay,
it.
it's fine.
Yeah,
You've been
100%.
through the worst pain.
Yeah.
You're traumatized. You're tired.
Yeah.
It's okay to be like, yo, I just want a cup of tea and some toast. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's okay to be like, no, I need to sleep. Like, it's fine. Like, you went through the worst pain. Don't expect it to be like, oh, my baby, or I love her so much. Because
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
meeting them
that
for the first
part.
time.
Yeah.
They love you so much. You know, when you hear that people see their
This-
baby and
this
this love
love,
I've
yeah.
never felt before. I didn't
I didn't feel that.
I had that.
Really, it never.
I wish I had that.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that, man.
I
was
was
like,
so
am I the problem?
tired. But you know,
Listen.
when I had it, so I was so by the end of it, I was so done out here. She cried, she screamed, she was crying. And they put her on my chest and she went silent. And then they removed her off my chest and she went, wah! And then they put her back and she went silent. So in that moment where
Yeah,
they
that
did it, they
will
did it
get
like
to
3
you.
times, innit? They just kept trying to take her and she just kept bugging. And then as soon as they'll just, even when she got to about here, where she could smell
The
me, she
sense.
was silent.
Yeah.
And as soon as they put me, she was
That gives me
quiet.
goosebumps.
Yeah, so when that happened, after like that, maybe that happened like half an hour in, but when that happened, like
That's
my
when you felt
whole
it.
body, from my top of my head to my eyes to everywhere, felt like a tingle sensation, and I just said to myself, "Oh my God, this is my baby," and I welled up with tears, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm so happy to hear
Yeah,
it
that's so beautiful.
I haven't-
Get me emotional.
outside,
So beautiful.
outside of like social media and what you see on like movies and stuff, I've never heard
Of it explained that way.
Yeah.
of an experience.
It's
like
a
that.
different
Beautiful,
type of
nice to
love,
hear.
innit? Like, and as well, I could feel, you know, when a baby is a newborn and you do the skin to skin,
Yeah.
apparently your chest can regulate their body temperature for them. So whenever she would come anywhere near me, when I could smell her, my whole of this area would just go really hot.
Yeah.
Like, I could feel a fire in me, and it was all directed at where she was laying, wherever she was, whether it was here, whether it was here, whether it was here. I could feel a heat that was
like
like
your body's
like
warming her
my
up.
body
Yeah.
was directing energy at her, and I remember feeling that, and I was sitting there. I thought I was going crazy at first, and I was like, "No, wait, that's mad, that's crazy." And then I was like, "Nah, it's not. Maybe I'm imagining it." And then I'd put her here, and it would all go there. And then I'd put her here, and then it would all go there. And I was like, after that, I was like, yo.
That's so nice.
I feel powerful.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
like, I
I
feel
did that.
miraculous, bro.
You're looking at yourself like,
This
yo.
is a miracle. Yeah, no, in fact, I was like, bro, I feel powerful. Like, what? I feel like a superhero.
That's
But
beautiful,
then, like,
man.
rushes of love. Like,
Yeah.
rushes of love.
You have to remember also, like, you're not just giving birth to a child, it's a birth of a new mother.
Yeah.
And you are meeting your child for the first time. So,
Yeah.
like, it's okay to, like, not, like, don't put too much pressure on yourself and don't overthink about, like, how come I don't feel the love and this, that. It takes time. Like, these things take time.
You know, as well, I want to say, we forget that we actually have a choice. Like, regardless of whether you are a first-time mom or a second or a third, it doesn't matter. If you are pregnant and you're having a kid, you have a choice. If you don't want to breastfeed your kid, you don't have to. Don't let other people's perceptions of the world and ideas and their opinions affect how you want to do things with your child. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to be with you shooting in the gym. You're going to be looking after this kid. This is your
100%.
you now, okay?
Yeah.
This is no one else's kid. This is yours. So don't forget that you have a choice, basically.
Block out the outside noise. And
No,
it's a lot
honestly,
easier.
yeah.
It's a lot easier said than done.
If
Like,
you
I
want
understand it,
advice,
but-
then
a
that's
lot easier
different,
said than
right?
done.
Yeah.
If you need advice, that's why I said with the unsolicited advice, I hated it so much because I'm not asking you.
Yeah.
If
You're
I
just
don't want to
coming
know,
unprovoked.
like, why are you coming to tell me stupidity? I might not see things the way you see things. And as well, do you know what I hated? People who had kids 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Coming to tell me your youngest is 35 years old. You're coming to tell me, but in my time, when fuck you, it's 35 years ago. Don't piss me off.
Yeah. Completely
fuck?
different.
Did
like,
you even have
situations.
good hospitals back then, bro?
It's a joke. But yeah, unsolicited advice, like, especially when it's coming, like, it's one thing coming from, like, people that you don't know. I feel like the hardest place
People you do know.
to disregard, unsolicited
Family.
advice is when it's from family, when it's from people that you know, and it is hard. It is so hard to shut it out. But, shut it out, block it out.
We're running out of time.
Oh, this is
We're running out of time.
I feel like we could
I
speak
know,
forever.
I know.
you know we can.
Look, our time is up, unfortunately.
Jamie even gave us extra time. Bless
He
him,
actually
but-
did give us extra time.
Love.
Shout out, Jamie.
Shout out to you, Jamie. But thank you guys, man. You guys are lit, man.
I know.
Oh,
I really
thanks for
appreciate it. I
having
really enjoyed
us.
having you guys here, man. You guys have made me laugh. I learned 2 new things today.
I know bare things.
Yeah, bro, I didn't know. Let's do a recap.
There's a front and back water.
What?
What else?
You get horny from breastfeeding?
Yes.
You what, mate?
What else?
You
There was
fucking what?
another one. There was something else. No, I think it was the front and back that shocked me the most.
The front and back had me. What?
I was spun.
My
when she
jaw
talked about
dropped.
shit
Yo, my jaw dropped. That's crazy.
Oh, there's so
No,
many little gems,
for me, it was the breastfeeding one. The nipple stimulation. That one.
Girl.
Stimulation. And
Everything
that.
away from you. Breastfeeding
Lord.
makes you horny.
It does. And you're not a seedy person if you feel horny. Like, you are okay. It's natural.
Oh man, wow, you learn something new every day.
That's nice.
There you go, folks.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. I've really enjoyed this episode.
No, I really did. It was a vibe. It was a vibe.
Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. We're gonna plug your website.
Everything.
Are you guys happy for us to? Is it just the Orbit Instagram or
Yeah.
the personal, whichever one?
Orbit.
Orbit.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm now Fluffy Bruns. I haven't been in the gym in time. We'll get back to sculpting soon. But yeah, Orbit would be fine. So just become Orbit on Instagram, on Threads.
I can find it. It's all good. We follow
Yeah.
you guys.
We
Anyway.
would love our community as well to check out Orbit. Like, new mums, send it to people who are pregnant or,
Yeah.
you know, anyone who you feel needs that, send it through.
Yeah.
Because this is for womanhood, you know? In Somali, we say Dumarland. And Dumarland means women land.
Yeah. Women.
For
I
the
love
women.
that.
For the women.
Yeah,
And I'm very much pro women
Forever.
for everything.
Yeah.
Forever.
I'd love that.
Please, guys, check them out. Check them out.
Yeah, we're gonna leave the website and everything in the description
We
below.
will.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I've been Suia.
And I've been Nasra, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.